Hello guys, it's your boy YT Apps and it's episode 3 of Indie Review. It's a special episode because all 3 developers submitted games by themselves and I consider this a huge breakthrough. So I felt like I should thank everyone in person. I also want to thank everyone watching this video because the channel is growing and it's important for me. So thank you guys, and now let's proceed to the actual review. Our games today are an interactive parable Eternal Escape by Timofey Petrov, an action hardcore side-scroller shooter Endocrisis by Arturo Bushman, and a casual puzzle game Reaction by Mechanical Inc. Once again, thank you guys for submitting your games. It is Indie Review, episode 3. Let's go! As defined by author, Eternal Escape is an interactive parable. It was published in May 2021. The whole playthrough takes around 5 minutes. Eternal Escape is what I thought indie games were until I started playing indie games. It is short, beautiful, has a puzzle and gives player food for thought. Now I actually failed to find the true ending myself, so I had to contact the author for explanation. The game is unusual and I can't review it in a regular manner, so I'll just show both of my playthroughs and explain everything in the process. I like the style of game a lot. It is minimalistic with nice color gamma. The whole gameplay process can be seen on a screen. The player tries to escape the pursuit and hides in the castle. The pursuer follows the player in the castle and then player runs back to the desert and the game loops. The gameplay process is very simple. Player just needs to hit left and right arrows to run. Now that's when I contacted Timofey and asked him what to do from that point on, and it turned out that the game actually has a true ending. If the player stops running at one location, the pursuer stops as well, and they can reunite. That's how the secret ending is revealed. I won't be talking about pros and cons, as the game differs too much from the games that I usually play. It feels like a finished product that tells a whole story, and it can't really use more gameplay elements. The developer is definitely a creative person with an exceptional ability to create good-looking games. I'll be looking forward to more global projects from Timofey. Endocrisis is a 2.5D hardcore side-scroller space shooter. Early access version was published on Steam on 25th of June this year. The game is brand new. I've spent 2 hours trying to beat the game, but being a casual player I only managed to complete 7 levels out of 15. I'll now show you the exact moment where I gave up. The game is set in a futuristic environment. It actually has 15 unique locations, a new one for each level. There are 2 types of levels in the game. Classical arcade levels, where player fights small enemies to get power-ups, and epic hardcore boss fights. There are following game mechanics. HP equals ammo. It's the first time I see something like this, and I must say it's a very original and elegant take on an endless ammo problem in hardcore shooters. Player is free to shoot as much as he wants, but the HP must be watched thoroughly. Vulnerable and immune modes. That's a somewhat common mechanic in hardcore games, where player can get either extremely vulnerable to the environment, or enter a completely immune state for a short period of time. patterns. Again, a common hardcore mechanic, where each level has its own pattern that player needs to memorize. It's basically impossible to beat any level during the first try. Gameplay requires player to attempt different scenes over and over again to find the best way to complete the segment. Sometimes it feels like studying a hard lesson, but instead of the actual memory, player trains muscle memory and instincts. Now to pros and cons. Hardcore games are controversial and not necessarily my favorite genre, but I tried to be as objective as I could while making this list. Audiovisual part of the game is exceptional. It looks nice and it has just enough flashy and moving parts. The player stays entertained the whole time and the eyes don't get too tired. Level design is good. All levels are unique, each boss has its own pattern, theme and visual. There's just enough plot for this type of game too. The player gets slight hints on why things are happening, so the whole gameplay does not feel aimless. As for cons, well, it's a balance. Vulnerable mode has been a huge problem for me during the whole playthrough. It gets activated every time when the player is shooting, and once the player is hit, he immediately loses all HP. It basically ruins all the fun from memorizing patterns, as no matter how far you can get instantly killed. I have contacted the developer about this issue, and there was actually similar feedback from other players, so right now Arturo is working on making balance a little easier. I will finish the game with great pleasure once the balance update comes out. Reaction is a casual physics puzzle by Mechanical Inc. It was published on June 10th on itch.io. I spent around 30 minutes playing this game and the process was enjoyable. The game is set in a simple 2D space. There are geometrical figures falling in a container and this one lone thing in the middle that player needs to rotate in order to push figures down in one of two holes. Once the figure falls out from the top of the container, the game is over. The main gameplay mechanic is customization. Player can customize speed, difficulty, power-ups and even the visual of the figures. Basically, every meaningful element of the game is customizable, and that's a cool thing to have in a game. There is a local multiplayer too, but unfortunately I had no partner to try it out. Now, instead of talking about pros and cons, I want to give my thoughts on how to further develop and improve this game. Right now the game has a powerful core, but it lacks some lesser details to make the player want to come back and play again. First thing that comes to mind is adding simple levels. One is to score X points, and the other is to survive for X seconds. The game with levels feels better, as it has the beginning and the end, thus giving the player a goal to achieve and satisfaction after achieving the goal. There is a way to implement this in an endless game too, by adding achievements, but variation with levels seems better for a puzzle game. Adding levels would also make it possible to diversify the gameplay. I can see traps added as well as debuffs. Power-ups are already in the game and they could be used in the levels nicely. So basically my whole point is that game has a powerful core, but lacks sense of fulfillment and replayability. Hopefully Mechanical Inc. will listen to me and maybe make Reaction 2 with all the improvements. This was it for today, thank you for watching, and until next time, be a damn productive person.